So the kicker here talks about the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast to his son, Matthew 22:2. So he's likening the kingdom to a marriage, to a wedding feast, to the celebration that takes place after the troughs have been plight. When you plight your trough, you are connected and you become one flesh. He then moves into the fact that many are called and few are chosen. That the invitation is our responsibility and the choosing is his responsibility. And we have a role to play in putting on the garment so that we can become among the chosen. You know, if we engage in what Father has told us to do, we'll receive his choosing. It's a matter of, are you going to do what you were put on this earth to do? Or are you going to lollygag and do all the billion things that you were not designed to do? Are you going to embrace the act of relating to him? Few are chosen because few want to engage in what it takes in order to become one of the chosen. They don't give a rip about their design. All they care about is that they've got their ticket for the train. This train is bound for glory, this train. And they only care about the fact that they've got a train ticket punched and they're ready to go to heaven. They don't give a rip about, a lot of them, what they're made to do, much less pursuing what they were made to do. But that's not what he's talking about. So we want to come to the wedding feast, but we want to come on our terms. We want to come without actually having to prepare. We want to come without having to change our garments. We want to come. And he has said to the Laodiceans, I have gold that's been refined in the fire, and I have garments because you're wretched, miserable, naked, and poor. And I have salve for your eyes. The problem is a whole lot of people don't want to put the salve on. They don't want to take the garment that he has, and they don't want to receive the gold that he has, and they think they're rich and they think they're clothed.
So you're saying this passage isn't about salvation, it's about people embracing their birthright, being chosen to go on the path to fulfill. So everyone, because it is my understanding that everyone is called, even though he says something different. So I agree, I didn't think this was a salvation passage either, because there was a contradiction. So many are called, few are chosen. To be chosen, you have to not only do salvation, but to go through the steps necessary of yielding and becoming more Christ-like and pursuing him, developing your discernment, walking in that path, so that you can get to the point where you're solving your life problem and walking in your birthright.
Right. Well, salvation is like the wedding.
Okay.
All the process of choosing is like the marriage itself. We were married for how many years, and during those years we did what? Did I interact with my spouse? Did I do the act of raising children? And we have this whole thing that's more than just the ceremony of us being united before God and witnesses.
Right. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's the developing the relationship and cleaning up, throw up at 3 a.m. and in the sickness and in health, and learning a reconciliation model and the things that you walk through to develop the relationship. Okay, no, that makes a lot more sense. Good.
And the celebration, successes, failures, failings, the weeping, the lamenting, the mourning, the friendship, the companionship, the cultivation, planting of gardens, mowing of lawns, creating of businesses, law practices, education degrees, seminary, law school, medical school, marine biology, whatever your design is. Fleshing that out so that you can extend the kingdom in your own key of music. Music performance, music education, music theory, composition. Our responsibility is to adopt the fullness, not just get the ticket, don't just get married, but actually have a marriage. The act of relating. Where when you come home from a bad day at school or work or whatever the case, you come home to a place of safety where you can relax and rest and unpack your baggage and talk with your family, and you can move on to the stuff you are made to do. Fixing cars or working as an architect or an engineer or whatever. Pastor, doctor, lawyer, politician. And yes, politics is a calling. So this dynamic of being chosen is part of a process more than it is this whole, oh, I'm elected, I'm special, 5-point Calvinism, 2 left, limited atonement, double predestination, heresy, nonsense. Our responsibility is to engage in the process where we have possessed and unpacked something, can hand it back to the Lord, and then he hands us cities to manage. You move from becoming an accountant or a steward or a stockbroker to a city manager. You move from banking to city management. Big transition right there. Big skill set shift. Then you have to learn something else. Then you hand that back to him, and he gives you back whatever the next thing is. And we extend and we expand and we increase because his glory is unpacking, and before our very eyes, his infinite is unpacking. So we move to the next season, the next season, the next stage, the next stage, the next stage, to do the next thing that he has made us to do. And there's this constant interaction, and we give him life and we receive life, and he gives us life and life abundantly, and then we can give that to others, and the cycle perpetuates, and it's sustainable, and it's life-giving, it's loving, affectionate, and tender. There's some work involved, sure. Work was invented and created before the fall. You will have work, likely, in the kingdom. If we're talking about restoring what was lost in the fall, we're also talking about a redeemed view of work.
Yeah, I agree. The current mindset of, we work from when we're like 20 to 60, and then, prior to this, we get to do whatever, and then after 60 you get to retire and whatever, is not a good mindset. Because work involves much more than your 40-hour-a-week job. And work is a godly thing, and there is redemption to it. We all have work that he's assigned to us to do. We have to do it.
Yep. And in the context of this, he talks about paying taxes to Caesar. Verse 15. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. Well, this is what they've been trying to do all along. Trap him. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, who were subjects of Herod, who dealt with Caesar, the religious leaders and the political leaders of the region of the day, said, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the ways of God truthfully." Jesus is saying, yeah, pass the salt, please. "For you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" If these people who are loyal to Caesar and these people who want their Messiah to overthrow the Roman government present together. But Jesus, aware of their malice being murderous intent, malicious set up beforehand, there's a malicious motive here, a negative motive here, said, "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Taxes are given because taxes are something that are paid as a result out of our working wages. So, should we pay taxes or not to Caesar?" And Jesus said to them, "Show me the coin for a tax." And they brought him a denarius, a day's wages. And Jesus said to them, "Whose likeness and whose inscription is this?" They said, "Caesar's." Then he said to them, "Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. They were silenced. In the context of discussing the kingdom and work, they test him on something that pertains to work, the payment of taxes out of our wages. Work is a reality of the kingdom. They didn't even realize that they were becoming a parable of themselves. They were illustrating a portion of his parable. It's about the kingdom. The kingdom has work. There is work to be done in the kingdom. Work is done by sons. Work is not done by slaves. Work is done by those who know what the owner and the manager want.
Okay, so probably need to clarify that a little bit, because obviously slaves do lots and lots and lots of work. It's a different kind, or you're nuancing it differently.
So, here's what I mean. Work versus a task. Slaves do tasks. Sons do work. Think of it this way. Somebody hands you a bucket of screws. You happen to manage to get into a factory without getting arrested. Somebody says, go hand this bucket of screws to this person next door. You take bucket of screws, drop it off. Task is done. That's called a task. Slaves do tasks. Now, imagine you go in, interview, get hired, go through personnel, human relations, human resources, or whatever the case. You get a job, the expectation that you'll be there, the salary that you'll be given and accrue, and also the benefits, the protection, the insurance that comes with being employed by that company. That's work. It's an ongoing process that grows with the opportunity for advancement. Slaves do tasks. Sons do work. And sons create. So there are rights and responsibilities that come with being a son in the kingdom. In the context of the wedding feast and this concept of the kingdom, the Pharisees set their own trap for themselves, discussing work. Work is good. Work is created by God. Work is not the purview of slaves. Work is the purview of sons. Because with work comes the benefits. With the task comes nothing. No pay, nothing.
There wasn't an expectation that a slave would solve the problem or create the task or whatever.
Bingo,
Slave
if a
did.
problem arose, then a slave wouldn't have any idea what to do, and he wouldn't have any resources. If he stole himself into the factory or whatever the case, in this analogy, he would not have resources or anybody else to talk about because he's not supposed to be there anyway.
Right.
He's just picking up doing tasks. A son who is designed to work and has the job to be there will get thrown, hopefully, if he's not governed by somebody with a spirit of slavery, but hopefully if he's governed and led by somebody with a spirit of sonship, will be presented with original problems that he or she will have to fix and solve on their own, using company resources, accomplishing somebody else's agenda or somebody else's problem, because the problems will arise and they're in the process of doing the work that the master or the leader of the organization has assigned you to do. That's the nuance. A little bit different. So work is done by sons, tasks are done by slaves. We have no authority to originate or solve problems. It's time to get to work, gang. And it's time to engage in the act of relating. So, those are just some thoughts. Pam, do you have anything to add? We bless you guys with peace, long-suffering, and understanding, and original skill, and eyesight, and salve to see everything that has been provided for you to accomplish and fulfill your destiny and the garments that he has given you so that you can become one of the chosen. Bless you in Jesus' name.